Hello everyone, welcome to this video series. The video series is going to be dedicated to port forwarding, so we'll try our best to learn everything we can about port forwarding. So first of all, we'll learn what port forwarding is, why do we do port forwarding, the types of port forwarding that we have, and then what are the tools that we use to make port forwarding easier. So yeah, so when I was starting my cybersecurity journey, port forwarding was a topic or a subject that was, I think I found it challenging to understand at first. I don't know why. Um, when I look back, I think I was not actually accessing the right materials to give me the understanding of the concept. Or maybe I had the materials at some point, but there weren't enough examples to demonstrate how the port forwarding is actually done. So we're going to try to solve all those mysteries in this video series. All right, I'm going to use my experience from the past and then what I know now about port forwarding, and then hopefully at the end of the series you'll be able to see port forwarding as something very easy to do. All right, so I will try to break the video into parts. Okay, let's see what parts we're gonna have. Port forwarding notes.txt. All right, so let's try to put some notes here. So first of all, I think part one, which we are doing now, or let's say part zero. Part zero is going to be our intro. So introduce whatever we're going to be doing, and then part one, we're going to talk about local port forwarding using SSH, and then in part two we'll talk about local port forwarding using Chisel, and then in part 3 we talk about dynamic port forwarding using Chisel, and proxy chains. And then in part 4, I think part 4 at this time is going to be our last part, we also talk about dynamic port forwarding. It's my forwarding, right? Forwarding using Ligolo engine. All right, so I think we have two tools here. So we have Chisel, it's going to be introduced in part 2, and then in the last part we'll introduce Ligolo engine. So this is the latest and greatest tool. Most of the professionals in the cybersecurity who do port forwarding, they are actually gravitating towards using Ligolo engine because of how easy it is to use and how dynamic it can be to connect different tunnels and then manage them. All right, so the first part, aside the introduction, the first part we're not going to use any tool, just going to use SSH, which comes inbuilt with most of Linux distributions. I think for Windows you can even install Windows, so you can install SSH in Windows, or you can use an SSH client on Windows. All right, so basically that's what we're going to be learning in this video series. So the first part is the introduction, what SSH is, what port forwarding is. So I think we can get a brief idea about port forwarding. So port forwarding just allows us to be able to access remote resources from a local device. All right, so we may have some devices or resources on remote machine which are not exposed, or which cannot be accessed by remote systems. So in order to make this happen, we have to do port forwarding. All right, so some ports may be on the local machine only, and then if you are from a remote machine, you cannot access those ports and services. So you need to employ a technique port forwarding. All right, so you're gonna see all this in the practical session that we'll be doing in part 1, part 2, part 3, and then the final part 4. So I think you will love it in part 4 where we use a Ligula engine. All right, so I hope to see you in part 1 where we start with local port forwarding with SSH. Thank you so much for watching.